You're not functioning at your highest level if you have more inputs coming into your brain than it can successfully digest, assimilate, and utilize toward constructing the life you want to live in your 50s, 60s, and beyond. If you don't feel capable of being fully present with your loved ones and daily experiences and using them to evolve into a better version of yourself, you might be suffering from brain indigestion. So let's change that. People need you at your best. You're listening to the Health Courage Collective podcast, episode 252, Let Your Brain Be Brilliant. Welcome to the Health Courage Collective podcast, the show for women who are too busy to slog through hours of generalized, inapplicable, and often contradictory health information, but too smart to ignore that the years right around the time of menopause are the most critical time to lay the foundation for health and strength in her 70s, 80s, and beyond. Your time is now. Let's go. Hello, and welcome to the podcast. I'm so happy that you're here today. How is your anterior mid-cingulate cortex? Did you impress anyone by talking about it this week? More importantly, did you do something to boost the size and connectivity of yours this week? It's so cool that we know of a physical structure in our brain that controls our tenacity, and even cooler that we know how to train it up so we can become naturally grittier people with a subconscious bias toward action. Today, we're talking about brain indigestion. This is not an episode about food, but we're going to briefly talk about it to get started. We all know that food is critical for our survival. Without it, we die. There are a lot of healthy foods that help our bodies function at a high level. There are all kinds of fantastic foods we can focus on and enjoy. We all know that if you aim to be a high-performing person, you need to carefully curate what food and drinks you consume. We know that in our society, it's really hard to stay away from consuming garbage because it's everywhere, and it's considered normal or even necessary. And a lot of times, garbage is dressed up as health food, so you're told it's good for you, but it's actually not. We know that food from nature is better than industrial food. Our bodies were not made to consume all of these altered fats, grains, and chemicals that didn't even exist 100 or 150 years ago. This is an area where we don't want to be normal because our bodies are literally constructed from the building blocks we consume as food. The things we tend to crave and maybe even obsess over are not usually the most valuable and nutrient-dense fuel for our bodies. And neither are the easy, quick-fix convenience foods. The more exciting it is, or we're led to believe that it is, the less helpful it usually is for our body. But these are the very things that are shown to us and pushed on us and displayed everywhere we go so that we can't get away from them. And they become a normal part of our culture and our lifestyle. Some of these foods are literally toxic and will slowly kill you. Others are just not very nutrient dense, so it's not the best choice, but not a completely terrible one either. Some people are more sensitive to less great foods than others, but whether we notice it right away or years down the line, poor quality and addictive food is bad for every body. Another problem with eating in our culture is that it's normal to eat all the time. 3 meals and 6 or more snacks a day is not unusual for a lot of people. Kids have to have snacks at school and soccer practice and while doing their homework. We have bedtime snacks and on-the-go snacks and liquid sugar and or caffeine called soda with us all the time. We're shown from people all around us that this is a normal thing to do. We've trained our brains to crave these things and we actually believe that they're important. How would we get through the day without them? The problem with this is that our digestive system only works at its best when we give it a break sometimes. At the very least, while we're sleeping. Longer, like 16 to 18 hours, is better for most people. When we give our digestive system a break from having to actively digest bite after bite after bite of food, our body can take a break from pumping out digestive enzymes and insulin and monitoring what is consumed for potential threats. Those resources can be diverted to being used to properly fold new proteins, clean up old cells and repair cellular damage. This is hugely important. Autophagy is awesome, and we'll talk about it more in the future. Those innate healing mechanisms are always there. You just have to give them an opportunity to work their magic by eliminating the requirement for them to do their part-time digesting job full-time. It's also impossible to sleep optimally well if you've eaten too close to bedtime. Your body can't lower its heart rate and increase its HRV for that deep, relaxing, restorative sleep if it's still needing to do the hard work of digestion while you're trying to sleep. There's also something super awesome called the glymphatic system that we'll talk about more in the future that literally cleans your brain while you sleep, but only if you haven't eaten within a few hours of going to bed. It's important for your sleep and your brain to not eat too late at night. When you deliberately choose what you eat and when, you put yourself in control of your biology instead of the big food companies that desperately want to have you under their control. You can allow your body to work the way it's meant to, and it will thrive if given the chance. Okay, so enough about food. What we're talking about is how you can feel rested, calm, energized, and ready to be fully present for yourself and for your family for years to come. You already have everything inside you to function at a high level. Solutions to problems, creativity, fun, intense focus, deeper connections with loved ones, more restful sleep, even extra time in your day. So, where is all this stuff lying dormant? Like our body's innate ability to clean up, repair, and thrive, it's in there and ready to go as soon as it doesn't have to do so much work digesting. Have you heard of the idea of your brain having to digest everything it consumes? This is an idea from the Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh. He tells us that everything we're exposed to is a nutrient that needs to be digested. And it really does. All the information that comes into our brain has to be processed, and it takes a lot of resources. Medical anthropologist Alberto Villaldo has shown that we are now exposed to more stimuli in 1 week than our ancestors in the 1400s were exposed to in their entire lifetimes. That's pretty crazy. He says we evolved to be able to deal with one lion roaring at us at a time. Now it's like the entire jungle is roaring at us all day, every day. No wonder high news and talk show consumption is scientifically correlated with increased anxiety and depression. Okay, I know I said no more food talk, but one more quick thing. Naturopath Natasha Winters teaches us that we can easily suck down more sugar in 20 minutes than our ancestors could possibly consume in an entire year. Yikes. So now the question becomes, what is your brain consuming? What inputs do you allow in your day? Are those nutrients easily digestible? Just like we evolved to digest food from nature, we evolved to digest inputs from nature. Vegetables provide the nutrients we need to build healthy bodies, and inputs from nature can nurture our brain and our soul. Have you heard of the Japanese treatment for tech burnout called Shinrin-yoku? It translates as forest bathing, and I've loved that term ever since I heard it many years ago. Forest bathing. It almost sounds a little bit racy. I know that totally immersing myself in a forest is incredibly restorative. One of my favorite things in the world is the smell of pine trees in the mountains. Not Pine Sol or those tree-shaped car fresheners, but actual trees and dirt and pine cones and all the things. I love it. My kids can tell you that the first thing I do every time I get on the ski lift is to tug down my gaiter and smell the trees as we ride past. What's your favorite input from nature? A sunset? A sunrise? The ocean? A sloth? Flowers? Fall leaves? Another one of my favorites. Sparkly snow? One of the best things in the world. Rather than just being restrictive and feeling like you have to eliminate the consumption of everything pleasurable, think of what inputs you need more of. What can you add to your life? What is nutrient dense to your soul and genuinely enjoyable? As you think of ways to fill yourself with healthy foods, also think of ways to fill your mind with healthy inputs. Even just a walk in your neighborhood or to a park can connect you with nature. The junk foods that are so pervasive and normalized in our culture are literally scientifically formulated by experts to be hyper-palatable, to override our rational decision-making abilities with addictive chemicals in our brains. Those foods feel very exciting in the moment. Think Doritos and Mountain Dew. So too are the digital inputs almost every company in the world is pushing on you. They are literally scientifically designed by experts to be addictive, to override our rational decision-making abilities with the variable reward programs used by slot machines. If you haven't seen The Social Dilemma, I highly recommend it. There are teams of people behind the scenes using brain science to control your behavior. If an input is cheap and easy, it's probably not good for you. Same with food. And people, don't allow someone else to hijack your brain. It's their job, and they're very good at it. Millions or billions of dollars are spent making sure that they succeed. Have you seen School of Rock with Jack Black? It's one of my all-time favorite movies. My husband and I just saw the Broadway play of it a couple months ago. It was cute, and they did a great job, but come on, nobody outperforms Jack Black. I kind of love him. So pop quiz, let's see if you remember from the show, what is rock about? Dewey Finn says that it's not about getting it perfect. It's not about scoring chicks or getting wasted, as the students in the class guess. It's about sticking it to the man. And you can't just say it. You've got to feel it in your blood and guts. I suggest that we stick it to the man and take back control of our own brains. It takes a little effort up front, and it's not the social norm, but the payoffs from being abnormal in this way are huge. So how can you stick it to the man? What junk information is being forced on you that you can eliminate your brain from ever having to consume? I would suggest turning off all push notifications from the apps on your phone. If I get a new app, the very first thing I always do is go to my settings and disable all notifications. I'll decide if and when to look at it. Thank you very much. We don't need Instagram or YouTube or MSNBC or Fox News or anybody else deciding for us what we should pay attention to. Next, I would suggest scrutinizing and curating the news you consume. I grew up in a house where my parents watched TV news at 12 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 10 o'clock every day. It seemed to me to be the normal thing to do. They would even complain most nights that the 10 o'clock news had the same stories that they already showed on the 6 o'clock news. Yeah, no kidding. Then they'd go straight to bed with all of those stories fresh in their minds. As I got older, I started to realize that I genuinely liked my life better if I didn't consume any news at all. I realized that this is not ideal for everyone, and it's always up to you to choose what's best for you. There is a responsibility to be an informed citizen of the world, which I'm not most of the time, so certainly do whatever works best for you and helps you to be a helpful human being. I've found so far that if something I need to know about happens, someone will tell me about it, and it's much more engaging when that someone is my coworker or my friend who I can have a conversation with than if it's a news anchor or an online columnist. You might not want to go to this extreme, but is there a way that you can reduce your news inputs? Do you really need to know all that stuff that often? Maybe only read news that you intentionally sought out. Stick to sports scores or find the most abbreviated news source that you can. A few years ago, I started looking at a site called All Sides, and it just kind of lists the top stories, and it gives you the left biased focused and the right biased focus, so you can kind of figure out where the middle ground is. I don't look at it very often because I don't look at news in general very often, but if I do want to know something about news, that's a place that I sometimes go. Okay, so while some foods are literally toxic, others are just not very nutrient dense. So it is with inputs. Some inputs blow up your brain and incite rage or hatred or jealousy or self-loathing. These are toxic. If you regularly look at or listen to anything that sets you into a tailspin of strong negative emotions, I would encourage you to very carefully evaluate how you could remove those inputs from your life. Drama is like junk food. If there's something really dramatic that just keeps coming up in your life, ask yourself if your life would be different if you cut that input off. Maybe it's a certain person you follow on social media and you just have a negative feeling tone whenever their stuff comes up. You can choose not to see their posts anymore and nobody else will ever know. Even better, what if you replaced those negative inputs with a positive input like smelling a flower, chatting with your neighbor, or looking for a picture in the clouds? Other inputs aren't so overtly bad. Is it self-destructive to get an email about what's on sale this week at Zappos? Hardly. Does it nourish your soul and help you become who you truly want to become? Hardly. I love cute shoes as much as you do. Probably more. Let's be honest, I have a thing for shoes. But I do think it's important to evaluate whether all of these inputs are contributing to or detracting from how you want to be in the world. How might you be spending time on non-nutritional media? Just like we want our diet to be mostly very highly nutrient dense with a few little exceptions here and there, we want our inputs to be mostly nourishing and happiness promoting. But a few low quality time wasters now and then are okay too, as long as you're deciding on purpose ahead of time that this is indeed what you want to spend your attention on and work to digest afterward. Like our body is always capable of doing work to repair and heal itself if we give it a break from working on digestion, our mind is ready to function at a higher level if we give it a break from working on digestion. We have email and news alerts and push notifications and social status updates and text messages and DMs and Netflix and podcasts and YouTube and Substack and on and on and on and on. Stephen King once described how he wasn't able to take his writing to the next level until he disconnected from the things that made it feel like he had jumper cables attached to his brain. I think this jumper cable brain is how life is for most people most of the time. And it's sad. Think of what a better place the world would be if we all interacted with each other after hiking or praying or petting a puppy instead of all of the notifications and advertisements and just noise that surrounds us now. Like with processed food, we've trained our brains to crave these things and we actually believe they're important. What if something of global significance occurs? What if we miss out on a reply to our comment on a post? What if we're the last one to know about the latest and greatest thing? The problem with this is that our brain only works at its best when we give it a break sometimes. Then the digesting and problem-solving systems can go to work coming up with ways we can be more efficient, more loving, more healthy, more creative, more effective, more present, more focused, more you. That's what the world really needs from you, is for you to be the most youest you that you possibly can. It's hard to do when you're bombarded with outside inputs all day, every day. My encouragement to you this week is to do a careful audit of all of your brain inputs and carefully consider whether allowing this information into your brain is having a positive effect on your life, or if it might be causing brain indigestion. See what you can limit, but also what healthy inputs you can add to nourish your soul. Who do you follow on social media? Do they make you smile or drag you down? How often do you look at social media? Would your life be better if you cut that back? Evolutionary anthropologist and psychologist Robin Dunbar says that we evolved to not be able to maintain meaningful relationships with more than 150 people. So scrolling through the life events and having to hear the opinions of more people than that can be literally overwhelming to our brain. What else can you put in your brain? What about books and music? Can you put a higher standard on those? Can you completely cut yourself off from all inputs for a few hours every morning? This is a great way to start your day and boost your creativity. Output before input. Create before you consume. Don't even touch your phone for a few hours in the morning. An intermittent fasting of inputs. I love it. I also love the idea of fasting from certain inputs for longer, like a week-long social media or Netflix fast, just to see how it goes. Maybe you can develop the rare blood disease that the children of Horace Green Prep School had. Stick it to the man neosis and raise your goblet of rock to taking back control of what goes into your own brain. Reduce your inputs, reduce your brain indigestion. Reduce your brain indigestion, increase your ability to be a force for good in the world. That's like you. Next week, we're going to talk about how lube affects your long-term health and what kind you should be using during midlife. Until then, disconnect the jumper cables from your brain and don't be normal. Thank you so much for spending your precious time with me today. If you found something valuable in today's episode, I'd be so grateful if you'd share it with a forward-thinking friend and subscribe to future episodes. Let's work together to make strong women who get elite-level care and results the rule rather than the exception. This podcast is for entertainment and information purposes only. Statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Christina Hackett and producers, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse events caused by use of information contained herein. If you think you have a medical problem, consult a licensed physician.